It is everyone's time of week that is their favorite, the NFC West Huddle, where we break down the best or closest division in the NFL with our Fox affiliates representing all four teams. In Arizona, we've got Richard Sines. In LA, it's Gerard Boncure. And in San Francisco, we have Keyshawn Ward. Guys, let's get to it. First question this week. Some big-time opponents for all teams this week. The Niners are in Green Bay. The Rams host the Eagles. The Cardinals come to Seattle. So of the four teams in the division, who is the biggest lock to win their game this week and why? Richard, we'll start with you.
I mean, is that really a question? You know it's the Arizona Cardinals. They're coming off the bye week. They're in Seattle. I know that's a tough place to play. But Aaron, I've told you since day one, I know a lot of people keep receipts. I get it down in the diary, right? I put it in my diary. This is the message. Gino, you're not that guy. You're not that guy, Gino. So I think it's the Arizona Cardinals. And it's funny because Vegas might know something because they're only favored by 1 point. So maybe Vegas knows. Usually the home team's favored by at least 3. The Cardinals, like I said, are coming off a bye week. They're fresh. They're getting some guys on defense back that can put pressure on Gino. The only thing that worries me when it comes to Seattle is that Walker guy on that running game. He seems to always do well against the Cardinals. But if they can stop the run and force Gino to make plays, I don't think he can do it a second week in a row. So I'm saying the lock is the Cardinals, especially when you consider who San Francisco are playing. You know, they've got a tough game, Rams as well. So I think it's the Cardinals. Put your house payment on that thing.
Hey, not a lot of people in San Francisco are agreeing with that statement that Gino's not the guy anymore after last week. It is amazing how 1 week can change the perception of a team, but I was really impressed with the Seahawks and the progress that they've made, and to finally beat the Niners and to do it at their place and to do so the way they did it with Gino's touchdown drive in the end. I think it's a major turning point to the Seahawks season. I know the Cardinals have extra rest, but I think that bye week actually slows their momentum after 4 straight wins. I've said it before. I think last week's Niners win is very similar to Russell Wilson's rookie season at Chicago in 2012. They were underdogs in that game. They were around 500. They won that game with a touchdown in overtime. Something just clicked after that game, and they went on to win their next 4. I'm not saying the Hawks are going to run the table this season after the Niners win, but I think the momentum carries over into the next couple of weeks for sure. The Niners are underdogs this week. The Rams are underdogs. The Cardinals are underdogs also, so I'm going to go with Vegas on this one. The Seahawks are the biggest lock to win their game this week. Keyshawn, you're up next. Who's the biggest lock to win?
I got to go with the Cardinals as well. I just think that the Seahawks coming off a very emotional win against the Niners. Gino won't admit it, but that was a Super Bowl win for him. He was 0-5 coming to that matchup. I just think that he finally got the monkey off his back. But I think the Cardinals have a formula to really beat the Seahawks. They have been struggling at times with the running game, with stopping it. So I think James Conner will have a big game. And also, you got to watch out for Trey McBride. I think he'll have a big game as well. But I think in totality, I think Seahawks will come off a very emotional win. They're on a very emotional high. I think that the Cardinals will continue that winning streak. I think they're really going to really just make a statement this week and say we're the best in NFC West. I hate to say it, but the Cardinals are the best right now.
Okay, we got 2 votes for the Cardinals, 1 for the Seahawks. Gerard, the Rams are the only other home team this week, but they've got the Eagles. Are they the biggest lock?
No, they're not. You know what? I don't like any of the 3 games as far as a lock is concerned. They can all go either way, okay? We'd probably be most surprised if the Rams beat the Eagles, and then probably if the 49ers beat the Packers at Lambeau. The most likely team to win is the Cardinals. It is. Now, they're 2-2 on the road.
Thank you, Gerard.
Seattle is coming off of a game where they kind of conquered the beast in beating the 49ers at Levi's. But let's face it, they probably shouldn't have won the game. The Niners had a lot to do with Seattle winning that game. You know, I was able to catch the end of that thing, and I was surprised. It was a great play by Gino. Gino at his best, probably. But if you had to make me pick a game, it's got to be the Cardinals. You know, we all know the Eagles are one of the best teams in the NFC right now coming in. They're 4-1 on the road. We're going to find out if the Rams are actually for real on Sunday night. That's kind of how I see that game. 49ers, you know, going to Lambeau is always a tough task. Green Bay's 3-2 at home. Niners have been inconsistent at best this year. So for me, if you got to pick one, the most likely scenario would be Arizona winning at Seattle on Sunday.
I wish the Seahawks could see this show for added motivation, but they can't because the power has been out at their facility all week long because of the windstorm that took the Pacific Northwest by storm earlier this week. And they've been going on backup generators. Okay, up next, what excites you the most about your team's game this week and why? Keyshawn, you lead us off this time.
I don't want to say it's exciting, but I think it'll be interesting to see how would the Niners bring pressure, because I don't think Nick Bosa is going to play. He has an oblique injury on both sides of his body. I think he has a hip injury. I think it's been a bit much for him this year, trying to continue to bring pressure. So how would the Niners bring pressure? So I don't know if you guys noticed, but once Nick Bosa came out the game last week, the Seahawks scored 2 touchdowns. So that's going to be a big problem for them. And I don't know if they could really go score for score with the Packers right now. And it's at Lambeau. It's going to be a tough road. A big test for the Niners offense. And Brock Purdy, he just started throwing the ball today. He didn't throw the ball all yesterday, so he has a shoulder injury. So I just got to see how the Niners bring pressure and how can they go score for score with the Packers.
All 20 Seahawks points were scored last week with Nick Bosa on the sideline. Gerard, what excites you about the Rams game against Philly?
Well, Aaron, I said it earlier in the show. We're going to find out Sunday night if the Rams are for real as a playoff possibility. They've got 2 really tough games coming up in the next 3 weeks. Eagles and Buffalo, they got to win one of those games. We're not even getting into the rest of the division schedule yet, but they've got to win one of those games. And I think against this Eagles team, which is 4-1 on the road, they throw it well, they run it well. Obviously, Saquon Barkley is a beast. Their point differential for the Eagles is plus 80, only second to the Detroit Lions in the NFC, who everyone thinks is the Super Bowl favorite right now out of the NFC. So, the Eagles average 181 yards on the ground, coming against this young but up-and-coming Rams defense. Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, Darius Williams, Cam Kitchens in the defensive backfield. So we're going to see if the Young Bucks can rise up in front of the home crowd on Sunday night, make up for the Monday night disaster against the Dolphins, and show that they are a real team in terms of possibly winning the division and getting a playoff berth.
Yeah, that would be a huge win for the Rams if they're able to upset Philly at home. I'm going to go a little outside the box on this one, and I'm hoping that the home crowd here in Seattle finally plays a factor at Lumen Field. It has been well documented how poorly the Hawks have played at home the last few years, and whether it's even a big advantage with the 12s anymore. They are 2-4 at home this year. But I'm anticipating this crowd to reflect a renewed excitement. I mean, you got a chance to regain first place. You finally beat the 49ers. You're finally seeing improvement on defense. Just 15 points allowed in regulation on average the last couple of weeks. Ernest Jones has been a stud with 37 tackles the last 3 weeks. It's time the 12s finally follow suit and show up and be loud. I mean, they've won their last 5 games against Arizona, 6 of their last 7 against the Cardinals. Even with their struggling defense the last 2 years, the Hawks have managed at least 5 sacks of Kyler Murray in 3 of those games. That should fire the crowd up as well. So I'm just excited for the atmosphere at home this Sunday afternoon. And Richard, the 12s are so loud, I'm not sure anyone will be able to hear you, but give it a go anyway. What excites you the most about this game?
Well, you guys are going to have to bring the energy, right, in order to beat the Arizona Cardinals. And I'm not saying with the 12s in the crowd, I mean like the actual electricity, right? Because like you said, you guys don't even have lights there. You asked me, he's like, Aaron says, you coming up? I'm like, no, I don't want to go. And I want to have a candlelight dinner because it's romantic, not out of necessity, right? So I suggest you guys come down here to Arizona where it's 79 degrees. I drove my Roadster to work today, the convertible. It's great out here. You guys should come down here. But actually, I think let's just stay there and play the game in Seattle because you guys have not played well there in Seattle. And yes, the Seahawks beat the Cardinals last year in Seattle, but that was with Josh Dobbs at quarterback and Amari DiMarco at running back, not Kyler Murray and James Conner. So that's a big difference. So this game is exciting for me because of what you mentioned, the playoff implications, the division lead implications, and this is the real reason why I'm so excited about this game. Gino is going up against my fantasy team, the Chimichangas. So, yeah, he's in big trouble because the Chimichangas are coming for him. Chimmy Nation is excited. And as you mentioned, the Seahawks scored with Bosa on the sideline, right? Keyshawn said, Geno got the monkey off his back. He got Bosa off his back. Once he got him on the sideline, that's when he started doing something. So if Geno can get the job done this weekend, that'd be a much different story. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be James Conner right, James Conner left. And they're going to control the clock, and it's going to be the Arizona Cardinals winning this game, helping out the Chimichangas and helping their own cause in the NFC West.
Yeah, as I mentioned last week, Nick Bosa was helping the Seahawks make the Seahawks great again by being on the sideline. Question number 3, to this point of the season, who is the current MVP in this division, and who will it be by the end of the regular season? Gerard, you go first.
Well, right now it's 6-4, leading the division. The Cardinals, it's got to be Kyler Murray right now.
Tell him.
Thrown for over 2,000 yards, 12 touchdowns against just 3 interceptions. So right now, he's the guy. He's only been sacked 15 times. When he rushes the ball, which is obviously one of his strengths, he's getting at least 7 yards a pop. I mean, he's doing all the things right now to make this team the division leader. Should the Rams overtake the Cardinals or the Niners overtake the Cardinals down the stretch, then I would have to go with Matthew Stafford or Brock Purdy. But right now, it's got to be Kyler Murray because he's the reason the Cardinals are leading the division right now.
Richard, you're next. Why do I think you're going to say Murray also?
Well, because Gerard's such a smart guy. You got to agree with he's a pride of Chico State for a reason. He knows what he's talking about. Kyler Murray has been absolutely fantastic this year. And this was a make-or-break year, right, for Kyler Murray. A lot of people were saying, how's he going to respond to the tough coaching of Jonathan Gannon? How's he going to respond, after his injury? And I think he's answered a lot of those questions and proved a lot of people wrong. He's had some phenomenal performances this year. Team-wise, like Gerard mentioned, they're 6-4. First in the division, but he's had some great individual moments too, right? The 17 straight completions, that's a franchise record. The perfect quarterback rating against the Rams, and when he's off and running, boy, they're a different team. That's a whole new dynamic, a whole new thing for the defenses to worry about, and he's just been great in waiting for the game to come to him. And he's always said it, even before the season started, he felt good about this season because he has a supporting cast. Back when he had Cliff Kingsbury, he felt like he had to be Superman every weekend and do it all by himself. Now he's got James Conner, Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison start to develop. And so they got a defense that's been able to apply pressure to opposing quarterbacks. So it's been a whole team effort, but it's Kyler Murray as the head of the snake, and that's why he's the MVP of the division.
And is he going to be by the end of the season also?
Absolutely, because they're going to win the division.
Okay. Well, as for me, for now, I'm going to go with Kyler Murray just because of his numbers. And you mentioned some of them there. And if you include his rushing stats, he has 16 touchdowns this season and only 3 interceptions. He's also the least sacked quarterback in this division. But here's going to be my controversial choice for divisional MVP at the end of the season. Richard, I think Geno Smith's going to be the guy. And here's why. Geno has he has 11 interceptions. He's been sacked 32 times. Write it in the burn book there. He's been sacked 32 times already this season. That's 14 more times than the next most quarterback in this division. These are clear indications of the horrible offensive line issues Seattle has had most of this year. And yet Geno is still leading in passing yards. And the offensive line got a big boost last week with Abe Lucas finally coming back at right tackle. Olu Oluwatimi might actually be an upgrade at center after Connor Williams retired last week. So if that offensive line holds up, I think the Seahawks are a contender to win the division, and a big reason will be Geno Smith shutting up all of his critics and haters. To be honest with you, I think it's a good opportunity for him, but it's also a big hypothetical and a big if that offensive line can hold things down. And Keyshawn, who is your divisional MVP to this point, and who will be MVP at the end of the year?
I mean, at this point, we might as well call this the Cardinals huddle because it's Kyler Murray. We all see the numbers there. You guys all named it. He's doing everything right. He has 12 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. The next quarterback under him is Justin Herbert having 5 picks. It's too good of a season by Murray. I think he's really impressing because, as you guys mentioned, he's not turning the ball over. He doesn't get sacked much often. So you got to give it to him. So my controversial pick will be, if somehow, some way, the Niners get back on track, it's got to be Brock Purdy. Because as shockingly as it is, this has been such a loaded team throughout the past couple seasons, but Purdy's actually been the most consistent, I should say. Defense has been kind of off. They have a lot of injuries, but Purdy's been the one, or even Juwan Jennings, but I'm going to say Purdy. I think Purdy's been the best Niner so far this year, so if the Niners can somehow get things back rolling, it'll be Brock Purdy, but if I had to use my mind, it's got to be Kyler Murray. But by the end of the season, in the division, yes, Kyler Murray. But overall, I'm going to go with Josh Allen. I know we're talking about the whole NFL, talking about NFL-wise, it's got to be Josh Allen. He's been the best so far this year.
It is very lonely over here on Geno Smith and Seahawks Island this week. And our final question, I mentioned all 4 teams are stacked right now because the Cardinals are at 6-4, the Rams, Seahawks, and Niners all at 5-5. So with 7 games left, how many wins will it take to win this division, and why? I'll go first here. I think 10 wins does it. You give the Cardinals the edge, obviously, because they only have to win 4 of their last 7 games to get to 10. But I don't think the Cardinals win 5 of their last 7 games. So I think it comes down to a potential tiebreaker at 10 games, whether it's head-to-head or divisional record. I still think it comes down to that Cardinals-Niners game at the end of this season. But I also think Seattle could be a dark horse pick, depending on how the next 3 weeks shake out, because they go Cardinals, at the dumpster fire Jets, and then at Arizona. So if they can sweep all 3 of those games, then Seattle has a chance, even though they have to face 3 teams from the NFC North in the month of December. Keyshawn, back to you. How many wins takes this division this year?
Aaron, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to say 10, and I think that it's going to be tough for the Niners because, in my opinion, I think they're going to lose against Packers, Buffalo, but then they'll beat the Bears. They'll beat the Rams, lose to the Dolphins, beat the Lions, and I think it'll really come down to if they can beat the Cardinals on the road in Week 18, and I think that will decide the NFC West.
Gerard, you're next. How many wins the NFC West?
I'm with you. I think 10. 10 is good enough.
Yeah.
I'm not moving off my initial position at the beginning of the season. I still think the Rams have a shot. As I said, they've got 2 tough games at home coming up. The Eagles, and then in a couple weeks, the Bills. You got to win one of those. Do I believe that they'll beat the Cardinals at SoFi? I do. Do I believe that they will beat the Seahawks at SoFi? I do. They've already beaten the Niners this season. So do I believe even with CMC back in, they can beat the 49ers? I do. The Niners just have not been consistent enough this year. I'm not sold. They're capable of winning or losing on any Sunday. The Jets are a train wreck. You know, let's remember last year the Rams put together a nice run. I think it might have been 6 of 7 to get into the playoffs as a wild card. So they're capable of doing that. This team is a believer, but Sunday night against Philadelphia in front of everyone is going to be kind of the telling of what to expect down the stretch. If they win that game, they're going to be in it. I'm telling you, they're coming. If they show up like they did against Miami, you know what? They'll probably finish the year 500.
Listen, it's believable. They pushed the Lions in Detroit all the way down the wire in the first game of the season, right? I mean, so they have shown that they are capable in front of a primetime national audience, either on Sunday or Monday night. Richard, you've got the last word. The winner of the division will have how many wins?
It has to be 10 plus because the Cardinals already have 10. I mean, they got 2 against Seattle. That's 2 wins right there. Then they got Carolina and New England. Those are the other 2 wins. So it's going to come down to, you know, maybe the Rams or the 49ers get hot and it comes down to those last couple games. But I did notice that the Seahawks schedule is not as bad, not as tough as both San Francisco, has, and it's, also the Rams. They still have to play those tough teams that both Seattle and Arizona played earlier in the year. So Seattle might have a chance, but they're going to have to do well against the Arizona Cardinals. I think it's going to come down to the next 3 weeks for you guys. And if somehow Seattle can somehow win the division and Geno's the guy, I'm going to write it in my diary right now, right? If Geno can pull it off, I already got this message here for Geno, which says, Geno, I've never doubted you. Not once. I will apologize to Gino if it happens. That's a big if, though, right? So I don't know. If my grandma had wheels, she'd be a bicycle. So I don't know what we're talking about here. What we know is the Arizona Cardinals have the most favorable schedule. They're battle-tested. They're going to win the division with at least 10 wins.
Yeah, I can't wait to see which of those pages you end up ripping out and then throwing away and discarding as if they never even existed.
I know.
And we should find that out by the end of this year. And we will take you up on that offer.
Sure.
We'll come down to Arizona because of the power outage here, but we'll just do so in 2 weeks. How's that?
It's a deal. We'll have a candlelight dinner because we want to, not because we have to.
Can't wait for that. I appreciate everyone playing the role of fortune teller tonight. That's going to do it for us. All 4 teams keeping things interesting in the race for the divisional crown. We will be back next week giving you something to be thankful for on Thanksgiving weekend. We'll see you guys then.